Um, So today is our panel discussion. We're going to have several good things we're going to get into. We have a student panel. We'll have time for Q&A. We're going to go over a little bit more of the details about the capstone, how it works, how the matching, how you get matched on a team, and then also have time for you to ask us questions in the chat about some of the details, and then we'll have an open Q&A at the end, and we'll stop the recording for that. So first of all, congratulations to everyone who got in. It's very exciting. I am also a Berkeley alum, so I had to make this selection for grad school several years back. So excited to have you here and share about our program. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Maritzi to take us through the agenda and the introductions.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. So hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Capstone Overview and Student Panel. Thank you all for being here today. So today's agenda, we will begin with introductions to our staff, followed by what is our capstone in your career. We will then dive into an overview of the capstone philosophy. We will explain how the selection process works. And after that, we'll have a student panel with current capstone students. Once the Q&A is over, we'll break into smaller Zoom rooms, allowing you to connect with your peers and get to know each other. So my name is Maritzi Perez, and I'm the Students Affairs and Academic Advisor. And I'm joined today by Dr. Jennifer Mangold, who's our Chief Innovation and Learning Officer, and also Kelly Klein, who is our Senior Program Manager.
So we also showed Julie.
And
Sorry,
Julie.
Julie McShane was our Director of Career Services. So one super unique thing about this program is that we have a dedicated career team that helps you starting in the summer. So that you have a lot of summer program before you enter the program, and then also while you are here. And what's really great about that is they're able to work with you throughout the entire year, from prepping for a job, how to interview, resume critiques, lots of networking opportunities. And a key thing, how we're tying it into Capstone, which is why I brought this slide up, is thinking about what employers are really looking for, right? And so you can see this top problem-solving skills, working in a team, strong work ethic, obviously the analytical skills, communication, technical. So you're going to be able to learn all of these on Capstone. It's very easy to think, especially you're high achieving, you're coming to Berkeley, that it's only the technical skills that matter. And what really sets it apart is learning a lot of these team skills, these intangible skills, communication skills. And so the Capstone is a direct experience where you're able to do that, where you're able to navigate ambiguity, work with multiple stakeholders, and the career teams can help you position that, how to speak to that when you're in an interview, how to talk about what you learned. So we just wanted to bring that up and give a quick shout out to our career team who's going to kind of help that. So the Fung Institute. So what is Capstone? So the Fung Institute, this is our mission is to create inclusive leaders that solve the world's problems through innovation, technology, collaboration across boundaries. So it's a pretty broad statement, and Capstone is one of the key ways that we do that within the program. So it's 1 year, it's interdisciplinary, so meaning you can work from students from across the college in different departments with either a faculty or industry advisor on a real world engineering problem. It's the perfect place for you to combine. So when you come into the program, you're going to take your boot camp classes in the fall and the spring that are focused on leadership. You're also going to have integrated leadership classes throughout, which we'll touch on later. And this place, the capstone is really where you're able to apply both of those, right? So it's not just your technical skills. You're going to work in a team. You're going to manage stakeholders. You're going to have to project manage. You're going to have to figure out how to get resources. how to get your advisor to contact you when they're busy and they haven't responded, right? These are real world things that happen in the work world. So it's a great place for you to practice and try that out. And it's okay if you fail in certain areas, if you make mistakes. Like that's what this place is. It's a sandbox for you to try these things before you get into the real world and to start practicing combining those technical and leadership skills. Also, we talked about the job search outcomes, right? So this is like a tangible thing. You're going to have, when you apply, they're going to ask you questions of when you run into a challenge, how do you address that? What have you ever worked on a project that didn't work out or where you couldn't get resources? So these are ways you can directly talk about how you're making a meaningful impact and how you navigated those challenges. And really, innovation is at the heart of it. So it's not an internship, right? There's not a direct answer. It's a lot of ambiguity. We'll talk about the types of projects a little bit later and our project proposals, but we have a couple of things that identify them. So when you're selecting a project, for example, one might have a narrow scope and one might have a more wide open scope. And so you're able to kind of choose which you want to work on. But innovation is at the heart of it. So meaning there's not already an answer when you get into this, like you will be innovating in that way. And it's all about learning from experience. So I talked a little bit about at Visit Day, and for those of you who aren't there, about undergrad, it's so easy to, you're just taking tests. There's usually a right answer. There's some projects, but this is really about learning from experience and applying that knowledge to a real life technical challenge. And then, as I mentioned, the integrated curriculum and leadership. So one is training you in boot camp, but then there's also communications, project management, and we have external coaches that are really helping you throughout to navigate some of the challenges that you have on the capstone, also how to present and communicate about your capstone to a variety of audiences. Here's some sample projects. So you can see machine learning is really big for us, AI, but you can everything from deep space to deep tech. We have computational work, we have product development, product design work, lots of industries from health to life sciences to sustainability and energy, automotive. We had about 115 projects last year, so we'll probably have a similar since our cohort will be about the same. So providing you with a really good variety of the different types of projects and fields so that you might want to go into. There's two types, right? So one is university-led, which are led by our College of Engineering faculty from the different departments. So that's your project advisor. A lot of times when you're working on those, you might also be working with a PhD student or a postdoc. And so you have exposure to kind of that university research lab setting. And then we also have industry partner projects. So it could be industry, it could be a nonprofit, government, other universities. So for example, we've had some partnerships with UCSF. And that's you're advised by someone outside that's within the organization that provides you with your technical. Now the capstone still has to be graded. So you will be matched with a faculty liaison. They're not directly involved with the project, but they're grading and assessing the technical deliverables. So we have good representation of the different industries in the Bay Area and outside. So we even have some international companies that we've worked with. What you want to be thinking about when you're thinking about which capstone you want to work on is, do you want to work on a startup environment, right? That's very different than working for someone, Fortune 500 like GM or Siemens. It's a different level of resources. It's a different type of project. A startup, might be newer and cutting edge on certain technologies. So working with faculty versus industry is different. And we'll get into some of those details, but these are the things I want you to start thinking about to see what might be the right project for you. And there's not a wrong answer. I mean, I think that's the great thing is like, you're going to learn from whatever project you're on. You can think about what skills you want to bring in, what skills you want to gain. But there really isn't a bad project in this sense. And so I think that's something that you can think about as well, because I know it probably feels like a tough decision going in. So here is the student timeline. So yay, today we made the webinar. And July 15th, we'll distribute this year's project list. So you can already see the project list on from last year on the new ADMIT website. So it's a Google Sheet up there. You can see what types of projects are there. We use keywords. There's usually a video attached, a project brief, so you can see what's there, what skills are needed for the project. It gives you an idea. So a lot of those faculty will come back. Some of those companies were also pursuing new projects. So they'll be a little bit different, but that gives you an idea of the type. So I encourage you to kind of skim some of that to see what's out there. And then we'll be distributing this year's list in July. We also have a July 31st Capstone student webinar. So this will be where we get in the details. So if you have questions about it, how specifics about how the capstone matching will work, and to answer some of those kind of details about the logistics. So additionally, so you're going to have this project list with all of the resources. And then we have advisor office hours. So this will happen in early August. And this is a time where the faculty and industry mentors will host Zoom office hours. And you can stop in for projects you might be interested in working on. So it's time for you to hear the pitch from them, to ask some questions, for them to get to know you, and find out more about ones you work in. So that would be the first thing. So you're going to narrow down your project list and then attend those. New student orientation in August 12th. And then in late, we'll have a matching process. You'll be matched and to launch as close as we can to the beginning of the semester, because we really, it's only a 9-month program. So we really want you to get started earlier. And then you'll work on that, and then you'll have teamwork and project wrap up in April, and early May we'll celebrate with our annual showcase. So these are some of the leadership courses that I had mentioned, right? So this is the student experience. You're going to be receiving some of this in both fall and spring semesters. So up here, you can see the boot camp, right? The 2-week boot camp at the beginning of each semester. You'll be taking R&D, tech management, and ethics, and organizational behavior and negotiation in August. And you have a little bit more choice in spring for electives, right? So everyone's going to be taking these in spring. You get to kind of take some of the leadership classes that you might be interested in. And then both semesters you'll have communications for engineering leaders. In the fall, you have an option. So the oral communication versus written communication, depending where you want to focus. And in the spring, 295 is team-based. So it's really helping you with your capstone. How do you write a project brief? How do you prepare your final report? How do you present and discuss and talk about your capstone to different audiences? In 270C in the fall, you'll do teaming and project management. And so this is really helping you, like, how do you put a project plan together? How do you work effectively on a team? How do you navigate differences? And then we also have coaching for high performance teams. Right now it's in the spring. We're also going to be so you'll meet with an industry expert to help directly for 30 minutes, several times a semester, to help navigate some of the challenges and get advice on your capstone. Based on student feedback, we're excited to say we're going to be offering that hopefully in the fall and spring. So to split that up, that's something that we've seen that a lot of our students have wanted coaching earlier. So we wanted to try to adapt that to kind of make it better suit the students' needs. And then you have the capstone course that you will work on. So in the fall, each student will devote 6 hours per week and 9 hours in the spring, and then you'll get your final grade in the spring. And then you'll be also taking your technical department courses. So how does the selection process work? We're past March. So you have the sample list on the new ADMIT website. Like I said, we'll do the final project list in July. We'll have the office hours and project discovery, you kind of thinking what you might want to work on, start narrowing down those projects. And again, we'll get into a little more of that in the July webinar. Advisors are able to look at you, why you might want to work on that project, and then make that selection. And then in September, we kind of launch your team. And then IOR students that are in FinTech or IPAS concentration, so you don't participate in the matching process, your advisor will place you on a project. So kind of a similar timeline, but you don't have to participate in the capstone marketplace. So if you have questions of that, please feel free to put it in the chat. So I kind of gave you the bird's eye view, and then now we're going to have a student panel kind of talk about some of the details. So I'll go ahead and let Maritzi introduce the panel. and get started.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to ask our student panel to please turn on their videos if you haven't already. So I'm really excited to have these current students with us today. We have representation from both faculty-led projects and industry-led projects. So it's really going to offer a great perspective on the diverse types of capstone experiences. So I'm actually going to have the panel introduce themselves by sharing their name, department, and the undergraduate school they attended. Rosh, do you want to start us off?
Cool. Good morning, folks. I'm Raj. I'm in the mechanical engineering and product design stream over here, and the undergraduate school I went to was San Jose State University.
Arian?
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Aryan. I'm a bioengineering student in the MEng program. My concentration is in biomaterials and biomedical devices. And for my undergrad, I went to UCLA.
Lucy?
Hi everyone, I'm Lucy Liu and I'm in IER here at UC Berkeley, and I did my undergrad at University.
And Douglas, please.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Douglas Hutchings. I went to UC Berkeley for undergraduate, so I'm back here again. I'm a mechanical engineering student studying robotics and controls.
All right, thank you all for your introduction. So before we get started, we have two student ambassadors with us today, Rosh and Aryan. So Capstone student ambassadors work closely with program staff to help co-design the Capstone experience through curriculum improvements, Capstone and team focus events, and community building throughout the year. So this question specifically for the Capstone students, the Capstone ambassadors. So what excites you about being a Capstone student ambassador? Do you want to start us off, Arian?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I have had a lot of fun being a Capstone ambassador this year. My favorite aspect of it has definitely been connecting with the MEng cohort, whether it be this year's cohort or next year's cohort. Just having the opportunity to talk with you guys obviously has been is really fun, and it's great to uh, give ideas on the Capstone experience, give a little bit of feedback about the experience to the staff so that, as we move toward the future, the capstone experience is more streamlined than ever. And with our ability to set up events for the capstone community, we're able to help each other kind of build connections, talk with each other more, and have fun while we're doing it.
Thanks, Arian. Raj?
Yeah, quite similar to what Aryan mentioned. For me, I think it's the opportunity to connect with the current cohort, but also mostly with the future cohort. Because I remember when I was in your place last year, and I had, the previous cohort's capstone ambassador to really talk to and guide me into my choices and decisions regarding the program. And another thing that Aryan mentioned, just the fact that we plan a lot of community building events for the current cohort, we get a lot of insight into just how they're feeling and just what they'd like improved. And that ties back into just making the program better for you guys too, as much as we can, of course. Yeah.
Thank you, Raj. All right, so the next question is for all four students. So we'll start off with Douglas. Can you please share an overview about your capstone project?
Sure. So my capstone project, I'm an industry capstone project company. Name is Blue Goji. They're almost certain to run a few capstone projects next year. They've been doing this for many years. I'm specifically building an autonomous treadmill, where a treadmill that regulates to the human user's walking or running speed without any input for medical rehabilitation. Blue Goji builds gamified exercise equipment.
Thank you, Douglas. Lucy, do you want to go next?
Oh, yes, for sure. I'm
Thanks.
also part of the Blue Goji Capstone projects, but not in the same team as Douglas. And our team is kind of focused on studying how gamified exercise bikes can influence physical performance, motivation, and stress reductions. We realize that many students right now struggling to find time or motivation to exercise, and that's the reason we kind of like want to bring the games and the physical activity together and make the process, the exercise process, for the students feel more enjoyable and accessible. Yeah.
Lucy. Raj?
Yeah, so my capstone project is on a wearable, essentially. It's a sensor system that also hosts a AI platform for the early detection of Parkinson's. I'm actually in my lab, so I'm wearing one of my early prototypes, essentially using muscle sensors and an IMU and just other, yeah, and also a computer vision system to get data and like essentially predict the likelihood of Parkinson's in a certain patient.
Raj? Arian?
Yeah, so my capstone project is a computer vision project that essentially allows you to take a CT scan or an MRI scan as an input and then trace out the outline and mesh of a blood vessel. So the motivation behind that is that if a radiologist or cardiologist has a lot of CT scans to look through, then they can more easily trace out the outline via this like this autonomous way of doing it. And the one aspect of a project also involves um, like blood flow modeling through the blood vessels. So that I think was like really interesting, which is the reason why I decided to choose that project.
Thank you all. All right, moving on to the next question. This is for Lucy and Arian. How did you choose which capstone project to join given the many amazing options available?
So for me, before I choose the capstones, I take a very close look of the sheets, like every options, what can I choose and what is suitable for me. And I finally ranked the paddle and play as my top choice because it aligns closely with both my personal interest and technical background. So as someone who led a school's running club during my undergrads, I've seen how physical activities can be a powerful tool for managing stress. And that personal connections combined with my experience in data analysis um, made these projects feel like it's a perfect fit for me. So I was especially drawn to the innovative angle of using gamification to make exercise more engaging. And then I choose these projects and feel really it's a really good fit for me. Yeah, for sure.
Thanks, Lucy. Raj? Oh, sorry, Arian?
Yeah. So in my case, I very similar to Lucy, checked out the spreadsheet that listed out all of the capstone projects, and I found that this particular project that I chose was very similar to the one that I did in my undergrad for my capstone there. But I saw that it was a little bit more involved and would allow me to kind of dive a little bit deeper into how computer vision really worked and what type of models we'd be using and things like that. So that was definitely the reason why I picked it as one of my top choices.
Arian? All right, the next question. Can you please share with us what you're finding valuable as you're working on your capstone project? Raj and Douglas?
Okay, I guess I'll take that first. I think one thing that's not obvious when you're necessarily applying to the MEng program is how diverse the MEng student body is, and what that means is a large number of different points of view. I'm on a controls project. I'm not relatively well versed in exercise, but I happen to work with a project partner who's actually out of material science, who's very passionate about the project. And he brings his personal experience more than his technical background to the project. I think that's sort of emblematic of decisions that you can make that are at the MEng program. And when you're in the MEng program, some people want to learn more, dive into a particular topic. Some people are coming to the MEng program to retool their skills into a different area than they maybe did undergrad in. And being able to be cognizant of those differences and thoughtful about them is, I think, one of the superpowers of the MEng program and allows you to really get what you want out of a program if you're deliberate about what you want in the first place.
Raj?
Yeah, for me, I would say it's the opportunity to really explore. I'm a mechanical engineer, but my project is shared with the mechanical engineering as well as the bioengineering department. And for me, I'm getting to not only explore a lot of concepts that I didn't know previously, such as like muscle sensors, like SCMG systems, and like I'm getting to study a lot of physics. And I think the Capstone project is nicer than some of my previous projects because I either worked in, a class project with a really short timeline or just larger groups, but this is a lot more focused. You have a lot more control over what you're learning and how you're applying it. And there's a lot more to derive from it, I would say.
You both. This is for Lucy and Arian. What strategies and tools have helped your team work together and work effectively?
Okay, so one of the biggest things that help our team is setting clear roles and check-ins. The capstone projects requires a lot of collaborations, and since we come from different backgrounds, and we made it a priority to align early on how we divide tasks. In terms of the tools, we use Slack for quick communications, and we also like use Google Docs to organize our notes, timelines. And for the analysis work, we use the Google Colab to track and review our code and data work. And everyone is able to edit and add comments on it. So basically, the strategy is making our progress transparent, accessible, and aligned across the team.
Yeah, in my case, very similar to Lucy, we've been very particular about making sure that our roles are well defined, and we also constantly communicate with each other if we find that we hit a certain setback or something like that, so that more attention can be driven there. As for specific like software tools that we use, it's pretty simple. We just use Slack to communicate with our advisor as well as with each other. And in our case, it's been really like we've been very fortunate to have an advisor that has that reaches out to us relatively often and is able to address any issues that we have. So definitely having a strong group dynamic between your group members as well as with the people in charge of your project is something that has helped our group succeed.
Guys. All right. The next question is for all of you. The Capstone Info Fair that takes place in early August is a time for students to ask the Capstone Project Advisor questions about what their project is all about. So what advice would you give incoming students on how to make their time at the Capstone Info Fair the most beneficial? Douglas, do you want to start us off?
Number 0, show up. It is before the boot camp, but you must be present to win to ask questions. So number 0 is show up. Number 1 is go ahead and actually interact with the advisors. I've actually been in a unique experience where my company, before I came back to grad school, ran an MEng program. And I know for sure that if you show up and you ask questions, you will get noticed. This also lets you understand what the project is, because this is your opportunity to understand the project more deeply and understand what may not have been in the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is sort of the entry or first part of the process. It should not be the only part of the process, because you will learn a lot by asking the project advisors questions. You'll be making your own judgments. At the end of the day, which MEng projects you apply for is probably the biggest decision you make at your time at Berkeley. And so you want to make sure it's the right one. So show up to all of them, as many as you can, ask questions, get noticed. And I can personally say that there are projects that went up and down.
Thank you, Douglas. Lucy?
I totally agree with what Douglas just said. And personally, I think the key is to act and contribute. You should start by knowing yourself at first, what excites you and what skills you can bring to the table, and what kind of experience you're hoping to gain. And then you're going to make some actions and show your teammates that you can do this, and you could like contribute to the company, like, and learn from working with people like who have different experience and who can share more opinions. And also like you need to talk to your advisors to let them know that you have these troubles or you want to learn this. And most of the advisor like in the Capstone projects are really they're really nice and they are really easy to reach out. So feel free to like talk to them and let them know that what you are good at and what you want to do. And also at the same time, you need to think about how you can contribute to the company or the projects you choose, not just what you'll get out of it. So whether it's the data skills, communication, or project management, understanding your value helps you stand out and build more meaningful capstone experience.
Thanks, Lucy. Raj?
I would say be present in the office hours, like really use it as an opportunity to make an impression with the advisor and also get an impression of how the advisor is, because apart from the topic of the project, the biggest thing is just how your advisor is going to interact with you. Some can be very involved, some can be a bit more hands off. It's what works best for you. So try and get an impression of that. And I think in terms of logistics, the biggest advice I can give is prioritize which projects you really want to get an idea of, because my top two projects had their office hours at the same time. And so I had to miss one of them so I could like attend my top project's choice. So understand which one you want to make an impression on and which one you want to learn more about. That'll be the most, I guess, pivotal thing for you early on.
Thanks, Raj. Aryan?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far. Definitely, first of all, be at that info fair so that you can talk with the advisors and try your best to leave an impression with them, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that are going to be choosing you. So if you are able to make an impression on them, then they're going to be more likely to kind of remember you during the matching process. And uh, while I say like most of the people are able in the MEng program are able to get the projects that they want, if you really want to get these like your top one or two choices, then leaving an impression is the best thing that you can do for that.
I also just wanted to mention that if there are logistical issues, if somebody's writing an image capstone project, that means they're also reading their email, and that also means that they're typically willing to go ahead and talk to you outside those office hours. I know some MEng students who even did site visits between when the office hours were held and when selections were actually done. So it's not that this is the only time to get feedback. It's the most important for sure. But if you have logistical issues, you can reach out and get more feedback after the info session before matching occurs.
Thanks, guys. All right, last question, and this is for all of you. How has the Capstone Project helped you grow your leadership skills? Lucy?
Oh, yes. So this is my first time working for a company, and I've really learned a lot from the communications and with both of my teammates and advisors. I would say that the key of my benefits learned from this experience is to learn how to work with people with different fields and learn the company's dynamics and how I can contribute to it. Yeah.
Raj?
I would say I got to step up in terms of a lot of documentation, especially in terms of just making sure things are organized, because sometimes advisors or just the previous team is going to leave things for you in a bit more unorganized manner. So making sure that's all sorted for the team, and also just mostly taking up responsibility. Like I think it is a 1 year project. You're trusting your members, and everybody has to take accountability for what they're doing. So even that itself is a lot of leadership independently amongst each member.
Thanks. Douglas?
So, I came from a startup work environment where we had all drunk the Kool-Aid, so we were all laser focused on one mission. And when you show up to Berkeley and the MEng, there's a lot going on. And so learning how to make useful contributions on the capstone project while also realizing that we have classes going on, and sometimes it's more important to be focused on class or finding a job or whatever it is, but we still want to do a good job on the capstone at the end of the day. Learning how to work on a large team whose schedules are always changing to meet those changing demands was definitely a new experience for me.
Thanks. Arian?
Yeah, Capstone Project definitely has built my leadership skills. Our group is relatively small. We only have 3 people, so we generally distribute uh, like the leadership role kind of among ourselves. But there definitely have been times where, if we notice that we're falling behind on something, or if our advisor forgot to mention something, that, it falls upon one of us to kind of take that mantle and let everyone know what's going on, make sure everyone's on the same page, uh, making sure that everyone's progress is going on smoothly. I think stuff like that is going to be really common when you go into the industry after the MEng project, and it's nice to be able to build those skills right now.
Go to controller. The reason I'm
Thanks, Arian. All right, so we're going to wrap up the student panel now, so we have enough time for the Q&A. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you once again to our amazing student panel for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, students. And I think you're going to hang on for a bit too, right? Because we may direct you a little bit in the Q&A because there's some questions, and thanks for Raj for answering some of those in the chat. Okay, so let me. So if Kelly, you're able to put, so this is the sample list of capstone projects that I mentioned that's on the new admit website. So we'll drop it in the chat here. There was a few folks who are like, what types of projects and that, how many in EECS, how many in other things, so that can help you answer that. There's also the breakout is 30% of industry and 70% of faculty, is the range. Nicholas, do you mind? Yeah, keeping yourself muted. Thank you. So that's typically the range. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording as well once we get into the Q&A. So